Today, the SPSA will provide an update on the flooding that is impacting communities in the province. Feel free to record, cut clips, and quote today's call as needed. We are recording the call as well, and it will be available online later this afternoon on the SPSA YouTube channel and Facebook page. Joining us today are Brian Chartrand, SPSA Executive Director of Land Operations, Patrick Boyle, Executive Director of Communications and Client Services with the Saskatchewan Water Security Agency, Leah Clark, Executive Director, Irrigation and Economic Development for the Saskatchewan Water Security Agency, Dan Palmer, Senior Communications Consultant with the Ministry of Highways, Jeff Morrow, President and CEO of the Saskatchewan Crop Insurance Corporation, and Carrie Kemp, Executive Director, Advisory Services and Municipal Relations Branch, Ministry of Government Relations. Updates will be provided today by the SPSA, the Water Security Agency, and the Ministry of Highways. After that, members of the media will have an opportunity to ask one question and one follow-up at that time. Please be advised we had scheduled a hard stop at 2 o'clock. I apologize for a late start this afternoon. We had a few technical issues, so I'm going to be a little bit wiggly when it comes to that 2 o'clock hard stop. So now I will provide the update on behalf of the Saskatchewan Water Safety Agency. The details mentioned are as of 12 noon today. The SPSA is engaged with the Ministry of Highways and the Water Security Agency, as well as working with other ministries, crowns, agencies that may be experiencing impacts from the flooding. The SPSA is working with communities that are at risk of flooding or currently experiencing flooding conditions, providing resources and supports to several of the impacted communities. 11 communities have current declarations of local emergency. These communities are the rural municipalities of Barrier Valley, Big River, Buckland, Buchanan, Leroy, Meadow Lake, Ponus Lake, Prairie Rose, Usborne, and Wolverine, and the Sturgeon Lake First Nation. Currently, the SPSA is in contact with each of these communities and is supporting multiple communities and rural areas with staff or equipment resources. For information on specific locations, please refer to the SPSA's interactive map or other agency tools such as the Highway Hotline, which has information such as road conditions. SPSA's emergency services officers will continue to liaise with communities that are being affected by the flooding and will continue to assist as required. The SPSA has supplied flooding response equipment to multiple communities across the province and will continue to provide those resources as required. We will continue to monitor all affected areas and provide updates as conditions evolve. We would also like to take this opportunity to remind residents to remain cautious as they venture outdoors during the upcoming long weekend. With the potential of a major storm this weekend, residents are reminded that individual and household preparedness is important in helping friends, family, neighbors, and communities be safe. Pay attention to weather alerts by downloading the Sask Alert app. Winds can have an acute impact on fire, so it's especially important in these conditions to take extra care to prevent grass fires. If residents are near bodies of water, such as creeks, rivers, and lakes, please be cognizant of present dangers caused by flooding and ice. With that update, I will now turn it over to Leah Clark of the WSA for her update.
Thanks, Jeff. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can, Leah.
Okay, we just had a network go down, so I'm going to do this without my camera if that's okay until we can get that back up, but I'm going to do it from my phone. So I'll just get started
here.
That's
fine, Leah. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So WSA has put out a new advisory as significant rainfall is expected across most of Saskatchewan over the next few days. This additional precipitation may lead to increased flows and accelerated snowmelt in areas where snow remains in the northern parts of Saskatchewan. Areas that are currently experiencing active snowmelt or above normal runoff may see more significant responses, and as a result, water levels on rivers and creeks may rise. At this time, the northwest region of the province, particularly the Meadow Lake area, is expected to receive the highest precipitation amounts. Forecasts indicate about 20 to 40 millimeters, beginning as rainfall and potentially transitioning to snowfall later in the week. There is potential for higher amounts in localized areas. These conditions may result in rising river and lake levels across the region. Most areas in the northwest region have experienced well above normal runoff, which is resulting in high soil moisture and limited storage on the landscape, reducing the capacity to absorb this rainfall, which could create a rapid runoff event. Forecasted strong wind conditions may result in increased wind and wave action on lakes across the province, which could lead to localized flooding or shoreline damage. This is particularly important for areas such as Fishing Lake and Good Spirit Lake, where the lake levels are higher and they are prone to wind-driven impacts. In addition, where ice cover remains, strong winds may cause ice movement, increasing the potential for ice push and associated damage along shorelines. Residents are encouraged to stay informed of local conditions and to exercise caution, particularly near waterways in low-lying areas. Today, the high flow advisory that was first issued in April and then updated on May 7th remains in effect throughout most areas, and we are seeing some of those high level flows go down significantly. I know we've said this before, but I just want to reiterate that this runoff event, we saw record flows in certain areas, especially on the Carrot River. Smoky Burn did see the highest ever water flow recorded at nearly 1,000 cubic meters per second. And normally this flow would be around 200. To put that in perspective, at 1,000 cubic meters per second, that's enough water to fill Mosaic Stadium to the top in under 20 minutes. We know that communities have been working around the clock to protect their infrastructure, and WSA is providing all resources possible to them each day over the weekend. And so with that, that's my update, Jeff.
Thank you, Leah. We'll now pass it over to Dan Palmer from the Ministry of Highways.
Thank you. So the Ministry of Highways continues to thank Saskatchewan residents and motorists for their ongoing patience as flooding continues affecting portions of the provincial road network, especially as we're heading here into the Victoria Day long weekend. Crews and equipment, they're continuing to respond to emerging issues, monitoring vulnerable locations, and supporting public safety efforts. Now, obviously, conditions can change quickly due to water flow and the weather, which we've heard a little bit about in this call. That's why we continue to remind drivers to check the highway hotline before departing on their journeys and again prior to returning from their trips. That's to ensure that they have the most up-to-date information available. And again, with conditions changing quickly and rapidly, it's a good idea to check that often. So flood-related closures, traffic restrictions, and other incidents can be viewed on the Highway Hotline's interactive map and under the text report within the traffic events section. And as we've heard a little bit about the water, that fast-moving water, it's affecting roadways by weakening road beds and creating ongoing challenges on the provincial highway network, which you can see on the hotline. All available ministry resources are being prioritized and deployed to areas experiencing the greatest impacts. My teammates out there, our ministry crews, are working to maintain access wherever possible and to restore normal traffic flow as quickly and as safely as conditions will allow. So just as an example here, the Ministry of Highways expects to complete some temporary repairs on Highway 3, about 17 kilometers east of Tisdale, and restore normal two-way traffic before the start of the Victoria Day-long weekend. And of course, that's depending on the weather. The area was reduced to one-lane traffic yesterday, which was Wednesday, May 13th, after a culvert failed due to excessive water. So the ministry has automated traffic lights and speeds reduced to 60 kilometers at the location. We expect to have a crew there, if not right now. Earlier today, they were out there to begin those temporary repairs to restore service. So that's just an example of our crews, my teammates out there working to restore service. And as most of you probably know, the Ministry of Highways secured a contractor to install a temporary structure on Highway 165 over Smoothstone River. The emergency installation of a temporary structure that began this week with the contractor mobilizing at the location. The contractor has started construction on road approaches from the existing highway to where the temporary bridge will eventually be placed. That temporary bridge is expected to be completed by the end of the month, but again, that's weather permitting. Once that temporary bridge is in place, it will be single lane traffic. The one that collapsed was 2. As this location is currently closed, just a reminder, motorists are required to use alternate routes until such time as a temporary bridge is installed. And meanwhile, there are approximately 5 provincial highway closures due to flooding, along with about 20 additional incidents involving water on roads. Those closures and those incident numbers related to flooding can change due to water conditions, the weather we've talked about, and progress by the ministry to restore service as quickly as possible and when safe to do so, which again is why it's very important to check that highway hotline often. That's my update. I will turn it back to our host.
Thanks for that update, Dan. Much appreciated. We will now open it up to questions from the media. Please use the raised hand function to indicate that you have a question. You will then be recognized when it is your turn. I would like to remind you to please turn on your microphone and camera when asking your question, and then to turn your camera and microphone off when you are finished. I would also ask that media members, before asking their question, please to identify themselves and the media outlet which they are representing. If there are any additional questions afterwards, please send them to the SPSA Communication Unit inbox, and the address is media.spsa@gov.sk.ca. This is the SPSA's main contact for all media. If there are any questions for the SPSA after today, this is where they should be sent. So let's get started with the questions, and we will start with Christopher.
All right, Chris Vandenbrekel with Global News. Question for Dan and Highways. We saw the damage with the Smoothstone was kind of a combination of the water flow and the ice that was jamming up against the bridge. With what Leah was saying about high winds and pushing ice flows, are we concerned about more bridges that may be vulnerable in the northern part of the province?
So I can't speak to what might happen, but certainly the ministry is monitoring that. And if something does happen, we will work as quickly as we can to restore service and address the situation. But we will see what happens with the weather.
Are there problem areas that you're keeping your eye on, though, in terms of that kind of access, those bridge structures?
We're continually monitoring the road network where there's trouble spots, and we will address it if something should happen as quickly as we can to restore service. But we are monitoring things like in the north, where we've seen lots of active flows and some challenges, obviously, and areas where the Water Security Agency has said we've had high flows.
Thanks, Christopher. Next up, Jillian.
Hi there, Jillian Massey with 980 CJME. I'm just wondering, can we expect the flooding to get worse before it gets better, or are we turning a corner on this situation?
Leah, is that something you could handle for us, please?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we're turning a corner. We're seeing a lot of those high flow events receding quite a bit here in the last 24 hours, especially. But there is still snowpack, and we're watching that. And of course, with this latest forecast, we're watching that and keeping a close eye on those events.
Thank you. And I'm just maybe wondering, can I ask a question to Dan as well?
Yes, you may.
Awesome. I'm just wondering if you could maybe put this into context for me historically. Is this the most amount of damage we've seen due to flooding? Just where are we ranking? Is this the most? Is it this on the higher end of damage so far this year, or maybe lower or moderate?
I can't speak to the things, but it is a challenging we will have a better sense of things once we get through the event to figure out where it may rank in that scenario, whether it was where it is. But as of right now, no, I can't speak to that. Folks may recall though that we did have several years ago, we had Trans-Canada Highway 1 near Swift Current go down after a flooding. That service was later restored. That's one of the historic ones I can recall, but where this ranks, I can't speak to that. We'll know more once this event is over.
Thanks, Dan. We'll next go to Nicole.
Hello, Nicole Goldsworthy, SaskToday.ca. Does anyone know how many people have been displaced or evacuated due to the flooding? Is there exact numbers or any data?
Brian, would you have any data on that?
Hi. No, we don't. We aren't involved in those evacuations. Those are community led, so the community would have to speak on that.
Thank you. Would you have a follow-up question?
I did have one other question.
Sure.
Was there any data that there could have been warning signs that this flooding season was going to be severe because of all the snow that we received late in the year, especially in the north and the northeast Saskatchewan?
Leah, would you mind taking that?
Yeah, absolutely. There was higher than average snowpack, but please remember that we did have a significant event, snow event after once runoff started, which really did play into this as well. But we did have 6 advisories since the beginning of April, and so we were aware that we could have runoff events that we needed to watch and prepare for.
Thank you, Leah. We have a question in the chat from Neil Billinger of CJWW Radio. It is for Jeff Morrow of the Saskatchewan Crop Insurance. Neil is wondering if Saskatchewan Crop Insurance has been running numbers about the potential number of unseeded acres in parts of the northeast and east central Saskatchewan. Is crop insurance getting farmer feedback in these flooded areas?
Thanks, Neil. We haven't run any projections as of yet. Our unseeded acreage, the way we look at unseeded acreage is if the land is to seed as of June 20th. So I think fortunately there still are a number of weeks until we hit that deadline. And in some of these areas, depending on what happens this weekend, but hearing from producers that, even in the Northeast and maybe parts of the Northwest, going to get on the land next week, of course, depending how this weekend shapes up. So still some time left for producers to get crop seeded. So we have not started to make any projections as of yet.
Thank you, Jeff. So we've gone through all our questions for the first time around. So we're going to go now to a follow-up from Christopher.
Thank you. In terms of the May long weekend, obviously as Saskatchewanians, we've made a lot of our long weekend homes and spring and summer homes near water, whether it be rivers or lakes. How much of a concern is there about added foot traffic in these areas that are experiencing high water levels? And what should these people be keeping in mind as they head up to cabins, as they head up to campsites?
Leah, could you take a run at that one for us, please?
Absolutely. We are updating our website regularly as we have more information, and we have forecasters watching those conditions and looking at potential impacts. But we know that we're going to have an event, and I think it's really important to just remind people we have a wonderful highway hotline that people can go to. We have weather alerts, and just be aware as you head out, and always double check.
And
Okay.
Brian, would you be able to add anything about preparing for events and being aware of the weather conditions?
Yeah, sure. just to echo what was already said there, pay attention to the weather. For the alerts on Sask Alert, again, Highways Hotline is a good source to take a look at. Make sure that the roads that you're planning on traveling aren't affected with the current flood conditions. Create yourself a 72-hour emergency kit. Just because the roadways are good where you're going, and once you get there, you never know in a few days when you go to leave that area, it could be kind of stuck for a little bit. So make sure you have a 72-hour emergency kit to hold yourself over until responders can assist you, or we can have that roadway patched up. Otherwise, for the most part, it sounds like it's going to be a pretty windy, rainy, wet event. But if you do find yourself in a dry area and you're trying to burn, doing some spring cleaning or whatnot, so just be cognizant of the wind. It can blow those embers pretty quickly, and if you're in a grass field area with those fine fuels, that you can lose control on that fire pretty quickly. So pay attention to the wind and weather for your area. Look for fire bans in your area. Flow and stir your campfire coals, and avoid driving through any dry grass with your ATV or vehicles. The hot mufflers can ignite that fine fuel. And then be careful again with any machines you're using, grinders, welders, things that have sparks. Those embers can blow over into the ditch or leaves and whatnot in your area and take off and cause a grass fire or wildfire. And then again, teach your children not to play with fire or matches. Lots of kids are out there. And unfortunately, we do have fires that ignite that way. So have that talk with your children if possible. And dispose of any cigarettes and matches correctly. Don't throw them out of your vehicle. Other than that, I hope everybody has a nice, safe, long weekend. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Christopher, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, Brian actually kind of did the segue for me into fire here. How quick of a transition are we expecting from this runoff flooding situation into a high wildfire season?
Well, so far our projections, it's going to be a slower, cooler, wetter spring. So it's not going to be too rapid of a transition until later on, midsummer, late June, July is looking when things start heating up, and we're going to see above average temperatures. But essentially, it doesn't take very long for conditions to change. We just need a couple of days of nice, hot, dry weather, and especially when there's wind, it's prime conditions for fire. So even if we do get rain by mid next week, if it heats up, there's still the threat of wildfire and grass fire as well. So we need to be cognizant until we get a nice good green up. And then that usually lowers our danger. But again, it is summertime. We experience fires, pretty much no matter what type of summer we get. So we always need to be cognizant of what we're doing out there. But again, stay safe, and if you do have a fire, please float and stir your coals. Make sure it's completely out, because it could reignite again. But otherwise, thank you.
Thank you, Brian. And now we'll go to Kelly.
Yeah, thanks very much, Kelly Provost, CBC News. On the subject of fires, are there any areas that could get today's strong winds without as much rain, increasing the fire risk?
Brian, can you handle that, please?
Yeah, sure. So we're going to be monitoring this storm here, and things change quickly, and we can only forecast and foresee, outwards for so long, and it's pretty challenging to get 100% accuracy on some of the weather. For the most part, this looks like it's going to be quite widespread. So a large portion of the province is going to see some type of precipitation, whether it be snow or rain or a little bit of both. So yeah, right now it looks like we're going to get rain in most areas. There's no real specific area that looks like it's going to be only windy at this time from what I've seen on the reports.
Thank you, Brian. Do you have a follow-up, Kelly?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Yesterday, I think it was the Beachy Fire Department that was saying that they observed this crossover phenomenon. That's where the temperature is apparently higher than the humidity. It's pretty dangerous, and they said that this might be the earliest that they've seen that. I'm just wondering if this is the earliest, or around the earliest that the SPSA has seen that sort of thing.
Over to you, Brian.
Yeah, crossover conditions. That's when the temperature is higher than the relative humidity, and you get some intense wildfire behavior. And no, we've seen crossover conditions earlier than this, such as last year. We were already in fire bans and had a significant amount of fire on the land-based at this time. So not unusual. It's pretty typical to see this crossover conditions in May. But right now, especially with this forecasted storm coming, and precip is going to be lowering any such conditions of crossover for the next couple of days.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. So we've done our roundabout for the second time. We can have one or two more questions if anyone is interested. So I'll give you one more opportunity. Okay, Kelly, go ahead. Or is that your hand up from the last time, Kelly?
Yeah, no, I did not.
Good. Okay, no, that
wasn't me.
That's
Sorry.
good. No worries, man. Okay, so like I said, we'll one more opportunity. Is anyone interested in another question, or can we circle the wagons and call it a? Oh, Christopher, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thanks. This one's for Leah. Leah, you talked about the potential for a rainfall rapid runoff. Could you explain more about what we could see from that, and like how severe could that be in areas like Meadow Lake, where we're expecting the most rain?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do know that we are just kind of coming off our runoff, and in some places we're in active runoff, and so typically that means that we have saturated soils, and so not a lot of holding capacity for moisture. And the other thing that we're watching closely, and the forecasts are saying, starting with precipitation and then moving to snowpack, and so when we have rainfall on snow, it can accelerate that runoff where we have that snowpack. So we're watching that. But if it does turn to snow, that does kind of give a little reprieve to that runoff. Kind of slows it down a bit. So that's what we're watching really closely when we say that conditions could point to that rapid runoff, but there are a lot of variables that we're watching, and there's also inconsistency in the reports of those localized events. So we're watching closely and working with communities actively through this.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I think that will be our last question of the session today. I want to thank everyone for attending and participating. Just a reminder that video of today's briefing will be on the SPSA YouTube channel and the Facebook page later this afternoon. If you have additional questions today or going forward, please make sure they get sent to our media inbox, media.spsa@gov.sk.ca. Thanks again and have a safe rest of your day.
Thank you.